Logic versus Joyner Lucas, the battle of the biracials. Now, I say battle or beef, it's a bit one-sided at the moment because Logic has not responded to Joyner Lucas in this situation yet. But today, what we're going to be talking about, I'm going to be asking if Joyner Lucas really is justified in throwing these shots at Logic. I'm just going to give a breakdown of the situation, any shots that have been thrown Logic's way by Joyner recently, and then giving my thoughts on if he needed to do this, if this was necessary. I thought this subject kind of died down, but I still get asked about it a lot, and I see people to this day debating on Twitter about it, so I decided to make a video giving my full thoughts on it. So with all that being said, guys, this is CDTVProductions. You can follow me on Instagram under that name, just CDTVProductions, and let's get right into this. So as I'm sure we all know by now, this all started when Joyner Lucas said this on his remix of Future's Mask Off.
And don't you compare me to Logic. Go listen to Sriracha. Yeah, that's a man that around her. And that's a Benz to a Honda.
He was basically saying him and Logic aren't comparable, and if you don't believe him, the song Sriracha by Tech N9ne is proof of that. If by some chance you haven't heard the song, here is Joyner Lucas's verse on that song.
Nobody gonna stop us, nobody gonna top us, and even no option, and even no conscience, even no I can achieve no problem, and even no I can see what they watching. TV with a DVD, I can repeat with a CD street shocking. Easy if an EP, then I just eat beats like I'm easy, eat Compton. I eat meat like I'm EBT shopping.
And this is Logic's verse on the song.
Yeah, I guess I'm supposed to come with that fast flow. Woo! I guess I'm supposed to come with that gas flow, but no, I'ma just spit it, I'ma get it good. Wish you would tell me what I should do. I don't know, hit the dough, yeah, feel like I've been here before.
Not only was Logic's verse disappointing because it didn't really match up with Tech and Joyner, it was also disappointing because it just kind of came off as a freestyle, and Logic really should have came with something much harder for that song. Joyner explained why he was frustrated with Logic's verse on Everyday Struggle, you know, back when it was good, saying he was initially excited to hear what Logic's verse would be like on the song, but then saying it took him months to come through with the verse. I mean, Joyner even says that he thinks Logic wasn't happy that Joyner was on the song.
Tech had the record, he said Logic wanted to get on the shit. I said, cool, let me get on the shit. So the next day I turned the record around, I sent it to Tech. Tech called me, yo, this shit crazy. And now I'm excited, like, yo, word, like Logic's about to get on this shit too. I want to hear what Logic, now at this point, I wanted to hear what Logic was gonna do to it, you know what I mean? And months go by, finally, we get the record back, and when I heard it, I could just tell he wasn't too happy about me being on that record. This is the.
He apologizes for taking so long.
I guess I'm supposed to come, yeah, but that part was whack as fuck.
He also talks about how he felt Logic took some of Joyner's concepts, for example naming a song after a phone number, which is what Joyner did with his mixtape, and then making a song about suicide prevention, which Joyner did better, but I don't necessarily think Logic stole the idea. It's a common theme to make a song around, but nonetheless, Joyner feels that Logic kind of stole those concepts from him, and you can hear the whole story in the interview, but that's pretty much the gist of it. Now, things haven't exactly escalated recently. Logic still hasn't said anything on the subject to this day, but Joyner has thrown some more jabs Logic's way recently. Now, it's only really a small shot he's taking at him, but it's worth noting, and this was on his Look Alive remix, which dropped very recently. Here he says this.
Fucking arm around me, 44 shots traumatizing from the 45, hit 44 more carbon copies than you kamikazes, that's for everybody.
It's not much of a diss, but it really stood out to me because of the mention of 44 more and everybody, you know, whilst he's talking about carbon copies, which makes sense as he thinks Logic took his ideas. Now, like I said, this is a minor diss, but then again, so was kind of the Sriracha diss, you know, it was only a few lines. But it shows that Joyner is still throwing some shade at Logic in his music. This brings me to the question though, is this gonna continue further? And is it justified? Was it even justified in the first place? Now here we get right into the main meat of the video. You know, we want to make this big and meaty, you know. So let's start off with the initial diss from the Mask Off remix and why Joyner said he did it. Now, maybe Joyner dissing Logic for, you know, taking his concepts, apparently, for, you know, doing the phone number thing and the suicide prevention song. I don't think that is the reason why he should have dissed him. That's not very justified, you know. Logic could have been working on that song well before he even knew of Joyner. I feel like Joyner shouldn't be calling him out for that, but dissing him for his Sriracha verse is completely justified in my opinion. Logic deserves to be called out for that verse, because even Logic fans, such as myself, knew that that verse was so underwhelming. And it's not like Joyner was just calling out Logic for attention there. He just genuinely felt offended by the verse that he turned in for Tech. That was justified. However, here is where my problem is. At this point, Logic is probably never going to respond, and I do not want Joyner to keep calling him out in the future. I was happy he called out Logic's Sriracha verse because there's no debate, it's a bad verse. But if this keeps going on, it's gonna get old and stale, and not to mention, it could make Joyner look thirsty for Logic's attention. I don't think he does right now, I just think people are saying he is because Logic fans are upset that Joyner dissed him, so they call him corny and all that stuff, but that's what could happen if Joyner keeps throwing these jabs. As a huge fan of both artists, I think Joyner was right to call out Logic at first. I just hope he doesn't continue this further and let the beef kind of bleed into his commercially released music, because at that point, it will have overstayed its welcome. I don't know if Joyner is watching this, but fun fact, Joyner actually has one of my videos in his favorites section on his YouTube channel, so thank you for that, Joyner. If you are watching, I would recommend not throwing any more shots Logic's way. You know, I'm a huge fan of your music, and I think it'll get a bit old if you keep doing it, and obviously fans of Logic are gonna start calling you corny, and they're never gonna want to listen to your music, so I would recommend it if you do see this video. I don't know if you will, but you've seen at least one of my videos, and that's good enough for me. Let's just accept that this has happened, and that Joyner and Logic are both putting out great music right now. That is what we should be focusing on. Well guys, that is going to be it for the video today. Thank you very much for watching. Let me know your opinions on this whole beef in the comments below, specifically letting me know if you think Joyner was justified at going at Logic in the first place. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see what people have to say on this. So yeah, I think that's all I have to say. You guys can follow me on Instagram under the name CDTVProductions. Also, of course, there will be a link in the description where you can buy my merchandise. This isn't the only design. I have much better designs on there. I designed them all myself. My favorite one is the Lil Young CDTV shirt, so go check that out. I think it's really well designed. I'll need to buy myself one of those soon. And that's all I got to say today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will hopefully see you all in the next one, and this is your boy, CDTV Productions, in the Christian household, signing out.